Welcome to the lecture series, Making Sense of AI in Education, in Community, and the Workforce. In first of the three-part series, we focused on AI in general. We just took a broad overview of what AI is and how it works. Tonight, we're going to take a more practical look at AI in education. We'll kick things off with Jeff Fastnacht, who is the superintendent of the Bismarck Public School District. Jeff will show us how he uses AI in his daily work. After Jeff, we'll turn our attention to James Baer. He's a technologist and a professor at the University of Jamestown, and he'll give us his approach to AI from a professor standpoint. Finally, we'll conclude with Mary Baumgartner, who is a student at Valley City State University, and she'll show us how she built a game out of AI for her third grade practicum students. The lecture series is brought to you by Valley City State University and TechND. TechND has been a wonderful partner in pulling this together. So let's turn our attention to Jeff Fastnacht in the first of the three presentations tonight. Jeff will walk us through how he's using AI in his daily work.
I think I'm just going to breeze through here and then probably give lots of time for questions. I'm sure that's where we're all gaining information is the questions, but this is kind of an adaptation of a slide deck I used with admins, administrators about a year ago, made some changes to it. But I really thought for me, my daily life falls into three buckets. It's operational work that I do. It's communication, which is probably the hugest bucket, and a little bit of teaching and learning because I have people that are dedicated to that, so I don't have to get into it very often, even though I have a role. I can pull these up, and I think it'll switch if I switch over here. I think you can see. There you go. One of the things my HR team, and we have a couple custom GPTs that we use a lot. This would be one. This is on our website, accessible to staff. Has tended to reduce the number of questions that come into our HR team. And when you have 2,400 employees, they get a lot of questions every day. So they created this own, Stacy and her team, their own custom GPT just to ask questions. They've preloaded it with all the handbooks and contracts and insurance information to help answer questions for people. I was testing it just the other day, like what are my benefits as a teacher for health insurance, and it did it. It popped it out right. So that's one of them. The other one I had on here was we do a lot of memorandums, understanding, and contract language. So we've uploaded, kind of built a custom GPT with all that template language that we use. We tend to use this a lot. My business office uses a lot more than I do, but trying to dabble in just custom GPTs. I have several. I don't know if I probably pop them out. I tend to have a lot of custom GPTs, even NFL picks, to pick my winners. So just trying to make it as easy as I can to do some of that work. That was the HR one, MOU builder. I did use it last year. I had a custom project over here because now GPT allows you to keep projects instead of just custom GPTs. And I had used that a lot to build a strategic plan. I don't know if anyone's ever done that, but just the repetitive nature of digging into a project over time and iterations of itself. I found that my AI client was invaluable in that, and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting and just giving it information, giving it updates, kind of giving it the next layer of information as we get. That was huge for me. And honestly, I continue to do custom projects in my GPT just for things like facility planning, because we're doing that now. I don't know if you've heard that around Bismarck, but everything from that to transportation issues. We had transportation issues huge. I just kept feeding it everything that we had, every email, every concern, everything we worked on. And it honestly housed all that, kept it. I could call back things that happened 6, 8, 10 weeks before, and it would remember that and call it back for me, which I found was really, really useful for me. Probably the biggest thing as a school administrator is communication. I don't necessarily use Copilot. I'm not a big Copilot user, but I will dump emails and long emails, particularly when I get one of those scrollers. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I get people who give me like the long email over time. It's like, can you just break this down to what I need to know? Can you summarize that? So I tend to use it a lot for that to refine my thinking, and just the sheer number of emails I get a day that I have to kind of shorten up. And the other one I just started using, I've been kind of anti-recording meetings. I've been kind of like, no, I don't want the AI world to know my meetings, but I have started using it as a Rotarian because the new secretary, so I have to make the weekly newsletter. I have been dabbling with Otter, and honestly, it works brilliantly good. It is highly accurate, and when I can take a 30-minute presentation at a Rotary and just say, make me a 200-word a newsletter article, and it pops it out in a second. I'm becoming an adopter of that. I just need to learn more. Um, Another thing too on communication, because we're in the midst of a campaign to do a lot of work with facilities work, I do this. It's like I just ask my client to give me a 3-week plan or a 2-week plan for social media, 3 posts a day or 3 posts a week. I need a byline, I need image ideas. And this was like the first post, and it gave me 3 posts a week. Here's your ideas. It took all that background knowledge we had with facilities and facilities work and just laid it in front of me. And it's like, wow, that worked. I was really impressed. I have to still fine tune it. I still run my bylines through AI, so I'll run them through there to clean them up and make them right. But that absolutely that was a killer finding. That made my life hugely easy because I usually lay my Facebook posts out, I plan them out, schedule them. So um, that was one. Just before we got on, I was deep into Canva. I'm deep into Canva stuff and making presentations and everything like this one is. So that's a huge tool for me. And now that you can connect Chat GPT to Canva and you can work in Chat GPT and it automatically goes into Canva, that has been a huge time saver for me. And lastly, the one that I'd be interested to think what our new teacher thinks about this. We're using AI as a tool for early warning systems. We bought into Panorama. I don't know how many people ever use that. Excuse me. But Panorama is a data warehouse tool, but it has AI embedded in it. So now as a teacher, I can just pull up my class. I can pull up a grade. I can pull up a school. I can pull up the whole district. And now I can see all my kids' early warning indicators. What's their grades? What's their attendance? What's their behavior? All the data dumps in here every night. I can rank it. So then, okay, it becomes a very much like a grade book, very traditional thinking like myself. You can see it, but you can see it all in one place. What I do like is you can now ask it a question. Show me the students that are like have low grades in this area that have critical attendance issues, and the AI client that's built in will do it for you. It'll put them in groups. It'll put them in instructional groups. If you ask it based on that low instructional group, what's a activity I should be doing the 12th week of school in ELA, it'll give you one because we've uploaded all of our pacing guides in there. So it'll do the work on the backside for you for a teacher. We think this has huge benefits for teachers. And then what I also like is if you just get a new kid in your class, what maybe I don't know. I don't know what you teach elementary, but I got taught fifth graders. So I got 5 years of academic data. The client is smart enough to dig through all the data, all the performance, all the grades, every test the kid's taken, every assignment, every behavior log, everything, and give you an insight on the kid. Just say, here's what you should know about junior Jeff and how you should go forward. And if you want that plan because they don't do well with attendance, it'll make you a plan. It'll translate it to Hungarian for you. It'll do everything for you to simplify a teacher's life. We think that's really kick. We're using that a lot more. And so I guess the last thing I ended with principals is no matter leaders is whatever you do, you got to check it. I tell people AI doesn't make my world easier because I still put a time in the beginning, asking good questions and giving a good starter. It does a lot of my writing for me. And then it just after I do writing, then I'm still checking it. I'm still making sure it says the right thing. But I don't, I seriously am not a good typer anymore. I probably never was. I back up too much. I misspell words. AI just makes that so much easier for me to have it do it for me and speed myself up. Oh, and the other one, I'll show you this too. Sorry. Well, I'll just explain it. The other one that we said AI is a little warning that I've given to my leaders is parents are now equipped with AI. So just heads up, they're coming much more prepared. We had a parent who was slash an attorney who came into an IEP, and he had AI'd like 11 years of these his own child's IEPs and plans and data. And he came in questioning goals and meeting goals and what had transcribed at meetings. We said, we got to be heads up because he was having the AI client run on the table. So as we were having a meeting about his child, the AI client was running, feeding him questions, and well, that doesn't match what was done this, 3 meetings ago. So that I will tell you, I just met with a mom today who had a bullying report, and she sent me a stack of paper this tall, all from an AI client with her feelings all viewed and from an AI, been run through an AI lens. That I think is what's coming for us as school leaders, is parents are going to be coming equipped and they're going to be able to read everything, or at least their client can. They're going to read everything before they come to that meeting. So yeah, there's a short and skinny, Jerry.
Well, you gave me a heads up. You sent me your slides last week, and it's pretty impressive what you're doing. How about do you have data governance and contracts with these different tools so you don't worry about leaking data into the wild blue yonder?
On the contract side, most of that, yeah, there's a name associated with it. I don't worry about that as far as the MOU builder. We don't get, if it's a really deep contract with, lots of language, that's more of an MOU builder. Still use an attorney for that. I would tell you, I think attorneys are using AI too, so we're not the only ones leaking information. That I will tell you, I even use it to help me with, we have the new Marzano leadership framework for leader evaluations. I don't know if anyone else uses that. I've now started building my notes, like instead of Jeff Fastnacht, I just use JF or Mr. F or whatever. I'll use my client to help me. It'll actually give me questions based on each component. And I'll just say, Mr. F does this. And I just talk to my AI client. I just talk to it, and it helps me dump out all the narrative for my evaluations. And then when I put it in Word, I just do a find replace for Mr. F as Jeff Fosnot, or Mr. T is, Mr. Thompson or whatever. But for me, just to talk to my client as it's giving me like, here's the 3 things in this area you should be evaluating on, then I just talk to it. So that saves me a ton of time. I know that's cheating. James looking at me like, you cheater. But
Anybody have questions for Jeff?
So Jeff, you did make a comment about how it really wasn't a time saver because you're putting time in at the beginning, making prompts, and you're verifying data when you're done. So if it's not really a time saver, what is it doing for you?
Well, I think maybe I should clarify, James. I'm still working like too many hours a day. So I would tell you, I'm probably doing more. I know I'm doing more. I can get the things done faster. I mean, I made Amy Kopus once wanted me to do an AI presentation for summer conference. I built it all in chat. I mean, I built the whole thing, all the questions, all the slides, and say, please convert the slides. It there's no way I would have built that presentation in less than 4 hours like I did yesterday. Between it and Canva, I had the whole thing built in less than 4 hours. So, I mean, I'm just doing more things in a course of a day, and I can keep up with it versus maybe saying I'm just sitting around doing nothing because I have nothing to do. No.
Well, and if I can jump in on that, I remember when I've got my first word processor. I'm still spending the same amount of time, but instead of, using the eraser things on the typewriter to try and fix your typos and all that, I was spending the time rearranging sentences and putting things in different order so I ended up with a better product, but I was using the same amount of time. All
I
right.
was, yeah, I was surprised last year when, I mean, a strategic plan for Bismarck was, I mean, 50 some pages of work, how many different strategy areas, how many different core values you try to incorporate, even getting to the end. And I had that thing done. And sometimes people worried about word choice. I mean, just um, to be really transparent, you worry about things like um, equity, when people use the word equity and inclusion. Remember those some buzzwords that came out? So when that came out, even from DC last year, it's like I just said, okay, I want you to review this for this viewpoint of equity and inclusion. Please let me know which, areas are major concern. And it just scanned it. Like there's no way I would have done that in the past without several people reading it. And it just said, here's the 3 pages you should look at. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I don't know if it saves me time, James, but it definitely makes me a little more efficient with my time. But
Sure.
How would you say your not your faculty, your teaching staff, where are they on the continuum of adoption? I'm guessing that's going to be one end of the spectrum to the other.
I would tell you, I have people who think it's the bane of human existence, or it's the next thing that's going to bring a demise to civilization. To people who are probably like me, saying, "Hey, this is a good tool. We got to use it in some way, shape, or form." I was reading. I don't know if anyone's read this book. I just heard this guy here last week. He was down at the national conference, so I'm reading his book. Um, he thinks it's the new renaissance. I mean, this is like it's going to revolutionize healthcare, education, and finance. It's just going to revolutionize all that governance. So I thought I better read his book. But um, I have everyone from both sides, Jerry. I have English teachers think that this is the worst thing since sliced bread. So
Yep, that's very similar at Valley City State and probably every institution that's in education. So
I probably just offended like 5 English teachers on here, but yeah.
well, I understand where people are coming from that are on the back end of the adoption side. So they have good arguments for that. So
And I don't know if anybody else is in any schools. I don't know what you guys do, but that panorama tool, that is cutting edge. That thing is amazing. If people ever dabble in it, I mean, it saves so much time. Our counselors and social workers tell them it has changed their job because they just what they had to dig for now just comes in front of them. It just is shown to them. So
awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. I appreciate it. We'll move on to James Bear. James, if you want to, I'll let you introduce yourself more in
Yeah.
detail. You've got quite the background, and you can focus on where you want to focus.
Yeah. So I guess I put some of that on my first screen here. So I'm, Jeff is ahead of almost everybody when it comes to tech things, I think. But I've been involved, right? I started teaching in 1998, and I was an English teacher, and I imagine my English teacher self being a little bit concerned with some of these things that are happening with Chat GPT. But I got into computer science and started teaching computer science. I became a tech coordinator. I became a school principal. And then ultimately now I find myself at the University of Jamestown, where I'm an assistant professor of teacher education, when my primary focus is the technology lens of teacher education. And then I'm also the director of Center for Teaching and Learning at University of Jamestown, and I do still handle technology for Montpelier. So yeah, I've been in a few places and done a few things, and I think you'll see that as I'm talking through what I've come up with here, because I am more of zoomed out than Jeff. I love to see those GPTs that Jeff has created. I mean, he's done far more in that realm than I have. And so when I do start, I guess I do want you, if you can bear with me a little bit, because I want to talk about when I was at VCSU in 1994. And I remember when I was first there, VCSU was just on that edge of being North Dakota's first laptop university, and it was so exciting for everybody. But I remember there were forums, and I don't know if Jerry, were you at VCSU at that time? But I remember there were public forums where people were talking about these notebook computers, and they were so excited about this new technology. but I remember specifically there was one young woman, and I wish I knew who she was, because I'd like to touch base with her again. And she stood up and she was so concerned with how these laptops were going to alienate us from humanity itself, right? And she talked about the environmental concerns, and the arguments she made were so much like what we hear against AI today. And it's wild to me that more than 30 years ago, we were really saying some of those very same things that we're saying now, just about something that was a little bit different. And so I'm going to come back to that because um, when ChatGPT came out in 2023, or when GPT 3.5 came out in 2023, so that it was usable and we could actually do stuff with it, I was super excited about it. I mean, I did get my paid version, and I was making some GPTs right away, and I learned to program Python. I'd never touched Python before. I mean, it was wild what we could do, but I wasn't special, right? Because we could all do that. And that's one of the things that took things from us a little bit, from us tech people, is that suddenly we had a lot of people who were programming overnight. We had seventh graders who could just write impeccably, and a lot of English teachers who didn't really know if they were going to have a job anymore. And there were all these questions for teachers, and and these questions sound silly, right? Every single one of these questions, whether we should ban it or pretend it's going away, or what should we do. But I don't think any of those questions really have a black and white answer, even now. And maybe does somebody have a good answer for any of those questions? I know some of you do. Some of you know we shouldn't ban it, and some of you think we should. But right. I mean, I don't think there's a clear answer to any of them. And so at University of Jamestown, one thing that I do in my role, the Center for Teaching is Learning, is I'm part of the AI task force, which creates sessions on AI. And so one of them, we had one of our designers, Ashley Benson. Instructional design at UJ is a department that creates mostly our online content, and our online department at UJ really struggled when AI first came out, because a big chunk of this online coursework that students were expecting to do could just be done by AI. And so that was hard. And so Ashley came up with this, and she gave one of our presentations as part of the task force, talking to teachers about what we can do. And really, we do come to three places when we're looking at using AI. One, we can just make it hard for students to use AI, right? Or we can try. That gets harder all the time because it gets easier for students to work around everything. The second one, and this is what, even when I was at VCSU, in 30 years ago, we knew we had to try to intrinsically motivate our students. That's hard to do, though, right? But if students are intrinsically motivated to learn the things they're supposed to learn, then they're not going to use AI. But both of those two pieces are telling us that we're trying to avoid using AI. And I think, if you listen to what Jeff had to say, and I'm guessing listen to what Mary has to say, we don't want to avoid the use of AI, right? We want students to be able to effectively use AI and ethically use AI. And those are two pieces that are critical. But it does need to happen. And but regardless of how we address it, even if we're that English teacher who just thinks students can't use AI because it destroys the writing process, we have to do something. Everybody has to address it in some way, shape, or form. And so one of the things that happens, I mean, if we do just teach like we've always taught without leveraging AI, then this is where we run into those situations. And part of me, when I listen to Jeff talk about his strategic plan, I've created a strategic plan for a school, and I know the work that goes into that, and I recognize the value in what Jeff was saying with that. But part of me thinks there's some value, some thought processes that happen with me as we go through those steps of creating those plans. And I'm not sure what we lose, but as long as we are creating an effective product, or we are creating a good product at the end, like it seems like Jeff has done, I think that we are doing this. And so we don't, but for me, when I talk to my students, the thing that we don't want to do is we want to make certain that foundational thinking of our students doesn't disappear with the use of AI, because we want them to continue to think critically. And I think they can. I know there's research indicating that students do lose their critical thinking through the use of AI, but that comes down to how we're leveraging AI, I believe. But I've seen all kinds of things that teachers are doing. Right. I also teach one of our graduate courses in our education program, where our the tech course, and one of the things that I have the teachers do is utilize AI in a way that I hadn't before in a lesson. And I hear a lot of conversations out in the field where teachers are using AI to grade essays. I've also heard students talk about how they don't like teachers using AI to grade essays, but it is a way to save time, and it is a way to maybe create less work for teachers. Also, I've seen teachers create assignment ideas and create lesson plan outlines. They can create instructional materials, all these things that they can do. And in fact, interesting, and this is why I asked Jeff that question about whether or not his AI actually saved time, because it is true that what I did before I talked here today is I wrote a little essay, and I dumped it into Canva and had it create this presentation for me. But I hated it. I hated it so much. I didn't like the fonts. I didn't like what it looked like. It didn't look clear to me, and I didn't like the things that it said. And so I redid and it definitely took me 3 times as much time to create this. And this presentation isn't anything to brag home about, right? But it took me more time than it should have, mostly because I used AI. So there's that. Um, and so here's the thing, though. I know one of our faculty at UJ, Dr. Mark Carpenter, when we were having our sessions on AI, he made this point. One of our sessions was about a collaboration with AI, and he made the point that was almost offensive to him, because we don't collaborate with machines. Machines are tools, right? And I know, in fact, here's a book that I just picked up that I intend to read here soon, that's called Co-Intelligence, and the whole by Ethan Mollick. The whole intent of that is talking about how we can collaborate with AI, but if we listen to the things that Jeff said, he's not collaborating with AI, right? He's using AI as a tool. AI isn't giving him information. AI is looking at what he did, and it's combing through it, and it's making it better. And I take what Dr. Carpenter says as valuable, that really it's better to not think of it as a collaboration or as a partner, because we don't want our human connections to be minimized, right? Really, that's what happens if we think machines are our partners. And we see that, right? Because before, ever since the iPhone, in, was it 2008 or 9? I can't recall the date for sure, but you go into a dentist waiting room and everybody's looking at their phone. Nobody talks to each other anymore. My college classrooms, I was an adjunct instructor in about 2010 at UJ. And when I went into a classroom, all the kids were talking and making noise. Now when I go into my classrooms, they're all looking at their phones, right? And this is true in every realm of our world, where people do choose screens over conversation. And the thing that I talk about with this is, when our students are doing that, when we see our students choosing screens, what are they really communicating with? And we see this in the education world. We see this with Amira, which is an AI tool for helping students learn to read with their fluency. And they're not having that human interaction. And I guess I'm not sure where that goes eventually. But AI does have potential, I think, to alienate us, like that young lady said back in 1994. But here's the thing. It doesn't really matter, does it? I look back to my life. Everything that has happened in my life, I had not actually even used a computer. I was a poor kid, and I never even touched a computer until VCSU had a laptop initiative. Most of my life has been based on technology. If not for that alienating technology, my life, which I think is pretty good right now, I wouldn't even have that, right? And I do wonder, when we think about AI, and really, I guess I'm thinking more about those people who are, I face a lot of people who think AI is the end of the world here, amongst some of our faculty, and this is really who we're talking to at this point, is what are those things that we're not teaching our students about AI that's going to make them we need to teach everything we can so that they can utilize AI to leverage a better future for themselves. And so however we do this in schools, and I think it's easier to pinpoint the things that we don't use AI for than the things that we do use AI for, because it shows up practically everywhere. And so it doesn't make any sense for us not to leverage it in as many ways as we possibly can, even though it does get we have a lot of concerns about that perhaps. So anyway, that's my thought. So I guess I'll open the conversation. I realize I zoomed out a little bit more than perhaps Jeff did.
No, that was really good, James. Next week we're going to focus on AI in the workforce, and we've already got data points that strongly show how AI is influencing the job market and what firms are looking for when they hire graduates. And it's infused with AI. There's no question about it. And yet, at the education side, where we're at this week, we're all kind of trying to figure out how do we the things that are most important are they're called the soft skills or the humanities. It's critical thinking, the ability to collaborate, work in teams, all those kind of things that, if we have to turn out students that are able to do that, because if they aren't able to do that, they're relying on AI. That to me that's one place we don't want to land. And so it's kind of almost a paradox. Businesses are asking for people to have AI experience, and yet people over on the other side, on the education side, are worried that we need those soft skills and those critical thinking things. I'm just reading Lance's note here.
James is a brilliant educator and tech guy, known him for years. And some of his fears with this and kind of the viewpoints of people are right spot on. I mean, it is just what people are worried about. I liked what you said, Jerry. And again, that's one of the points this guy made is like, what's the future of education if because everybody at their fingertips has had all the knowledge in the world for the last 10 years, since 15 years, since the inception of the internet. We've had all of human knowledge, right? So there's no reason we don't know. What AI has done is now be able to use that knowledge into really intelligence to digest it all rapidly, where we just don't have the mental capacity to do that and to see everything. And to your skills comment, he talked about his own father, who was a oncologist, and how he just thought he was the most brilliant man in the world because he's an oncologist, he saved people's lives. And he was pointing to how, well, now AI can actually do that better than an oncologist or radiologist, or they can read scans better than the human can, right? So it's not about the knowledge anymore. He said the skill difference is, and he said this was an award show that his dad went to, that he's awarded a award, and these patients came up, and all of them talked about getting healed and better cure rate, but the vast majority didn't talk about that in his knowledge as a doctor and diagnosis. It was about the care, the bedside manner, the compassion, the creativity, all those things that are human qualities that he was pointing to, that AI, we're all going to have, he calls it unmetered intelligence. We all now have access to this depth of knowledge, but what will make us different and unique is these human innate skills, like you were just pointing to, that maybe that needs to be the focus in education. Our world more is building those skills out of human qualities, because the knowledge is just going to be free flowing between everybody. It's how do you use those with the human qualities embedded? I mean, maybe that's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, it really is a challenge in my mind. It feels like it is quite a moving target at this point. And one of the questions that I see out in the chat, Andrea asked what AI tools have been most useful for educators. And so one of the questions I ask in the grad school course I teach, I get a lot of information from teachers who are out in the field. And it seems like every semester when I teach the course, there's new things that they're using. You know, it started with Magic School back in 2023, and and I think that's such a moving target. I think that one of the things that really Copilot right now seems to be really big in schools. I think mostly because Microsoft embedded it so much within their products. Seems like that's being what's used mostly. You know, I've when I started with ChatGPT in 2023, personally, I used DeepSeek for quite a while just because it seemed like it was kind of ahead of the others. I don't do that anymore very much. Copilot tends to be what I go to. Also, I started playing with Canva, what even happened to Canva in the last year or two? It grew so much. It can do almost everything, and that's all AI. I think when it comes to educating educators, and I'm actually super excited to hear what Mary has to say, so we should probably get out of the way and let her talk. But when we think about the educators that we're teaching, the best thing we can teach them is to be open to new things that are coming, because we don't know what it is that they're going to be using that's going to be most effective for them. But they have to be open to different tools and experiences in the AI world. So
most challenging job Mary probably has. And I'm going to pick on Mary. I don't know where you're going to teach, Mary, but I can hire you tomorrow. Okay. But maybe the most difficult job that a teacher has now is making a human, compassionate connection with every one of their kids and getting to know them and what they want to do, and then getting them lit. You know, we could have the world of knowledge and intelligence in front of us now, or how to digest it. Now the question is what are you passionate about? What do you want to go do? Because you have the depth of knowledge in front of you, the depth of capacity. It's me igniting you to get you going. I wonder why we even test anymore, all these standardized tests that we're all graded on. It's like, why does that matter anymore? We ought to be figuring out, do you have a passion, or are you excited to go do it for a lifetime? You know, so I think that's the challenge.
It's a really good point. Really good point. Well, Mary, with that lead up, we'll just put all the weight on your shoulders. You're a senior now. You'll be able to handle it. So she was going to mostly talk about this tool that she developed using AI, but I think, Mary, the challenge in front of you now is to address some of the thoughts and what you're thinking about in terms of AI as you get ready to embark on a career in education. So no pressure.
Okay, so I am on here to talk about how I used Canva's AI, specifically Canva code, to create a website for third graders to use to practice their spelling words. It was actually really cool to see them actually interacting with it, and I made it really clear to them that, like, I prompted AI to make it, but it made the product. So I'll share my screen.
I've seen her video. This is a really cool tool.
Okay, so I started with just like stating what I needed, and I wanted a website, and I told it I had all the words I wanted to include, and its first version, it brought me. It's really cool. You can look back at each individual version and like see where you came from and like what you ended with, which I think is really cool to just like reflect on. And so with this, I needed differentiation. One of the versions needed 8 words, while the other needed all 15. So this first version it made only had the 8. So then I had it work on having all 15. And by this point, it did that. But I was still having problems with it not giving me all 15 when I wanted it. So I kept prompting it. And then at this point here for version 6, I realized if you clicked on one of the game modes, it wouldn't work properly. It would like go too quickly and you would just answer too many questions at once and end up not answering questions. So I had it fix that. And then it kept giving me the same problem with only giving me 8 words instead of the full 15. And I was getting a little frustrated, but it ended up working out. And then I can show you this version. So you just type in your name and then it gives you your options. So the matchup has like all 15 and you just match your words. Yeah, it was really cool. And yeah, I'll just go through the different game modes quickly. And so like all of these words were themed after a book that the class was reading. So they all had the definition. So it's really easy to like make this to align with it. And then I prompted it to have like a save progress bar and also adding into like a teacher element where like I could see what they've done. So that was really cool that it allowed me to do that. And I made sure it had a pin behind it so that students couldn't see all of that information. And originally the pin was 1, 2, 3, 4, and I changed that immediately. But I can show the progress like that it goes into detail on. So it tells me what I got on it, how much time I took, what time I did it, and my percentage. And for the flashcards specifically, I think it's really important to know how long like a student took on it, because I took 4 seconds and I got a 15 out of 15. No, I just flipped through the whole thing. Like I'm not learning by doing that. So then you can just have a conversation with your student and be like, you actually need to be working through these game modes or try a different one. And then I changed it for instead of typing in students' names, they would just click on their name. I thought this was a lot easier. But immediately I was like, okay, getting rid of the emojis, one less distraction. And I wanted to add on a teacher option so that when I was showing them all of this, that I could click on teacher instead of their names. And so I got rid of the emojis by this version. And this is what that looked like, just the same as the other ones, but mine had all 15 words instead of just the 8. And then I noticed, I think it's super important. If you're gonna give something to your students to be working on, you have to like try it out first. And the flashcards, it was giving the word first, and that was like not the point at all. So I had it fix that, and it took a while. And then I was like, what kind of, in a way, incentive kind of a game can I come up with for students to earn after they complete so many modes? So I came up with crosswords and word searches. But I was not clear enough in my instructions right away. I wanted it so they had to complete 2 of the other modes before they could unlock these. It did not understand that, so I reprompted it and it worked, and it was really cool. So I just had to, I can just quickly click through these and it'll work. And then it tells me I'm halfway there. So after I do 2, I can go into the crossword and the word search, but then I was like, I need to be trying these while I keep prompting it, but I don't want to have to do that a million times. So I said for the teacher version, make it unlocked. And it did that. And that leaves me with version 20. Version 20 is what I gave to these students. They had it for about 2 weeks. They really liked it. They kept asking me if I could bring it back, but I did finish my practicum hours, so I'm no longer in the classroom, but they really liked it. Yeah. So I kept working with it after I finished, but I ended up with 37 different versions, or 38. It takes a lot of trial and error, and yeah, but I put it all on all of their iPads, and all they had to do was like click on it just like it was an app, and this is what comes up for them. So I thought it was really cool, and that's all.
That's an awesome job you did, Mary. I'm super impressed. I want just imagine in the future, right? When as you get better at creating these prompts, how quick it will be for you to create whatever kind of game you might possibly want your students to have, right? Or whatever kind of learning tool.
And actually, they just announced that Canva 2.0 is coming out soon, and I'm really excited to see like what changes versus the version 1 that's gonna have.
There was a chat here from Lance. Mary, did you end up doing any revisions after your students played with it? And talk about a little bit more about the student experience. What got them going? Did it get them, as Jeff Fastnacht said, did it ignite them and in their learning, or how did they react to that?
They were pretty excited with it. They get to go on their iPads for like some things, but this was like a little extra special because usually spelling is just like whiteboards or like papers. So it was a little extra special for them to experience it. And then for revisions, I ended up removing the crossword and word search. Eventually, it just got complicated, and I changed it because I was like, I still want a fun option. So I changed it into a whiteboard version so students could write the word instead. And that also took trial and error because it worked on my laptop, but it didn't work on their iPad, which I didn't think would happen. So I had to work with that too.
I posted there's a video that Mary put together, a YouTube video that she kind of walks you through the iterations of start to the end product, and it's a fun one to watch if you're interested. So, and then I should call out Harmony Richmond as one of Mary's instructors, and she's the one that put me on to Mary's work. So, thank you, Harmony.
So Mary,
oh, she kicked the heck out of James and me, at least for me. Holy crap, that's good.
100% she did. Question for you, Mary. You ever have a thought of having, I mean, you intend to just teach third graders, or what's your goal?
Actually, I want to teach kindergarten, so I don't I don't really plan on using this like for my students to be using, but I think AI is really useful like from the teacher perspective at that age.
Yeah, I could envision older kids using a tool like that to create products of their own, right?
Yeah.
Give AI a couple iterations. Give AI a couple iterations, and anybody in their natural language will just talk to their client and build whatever they want. They'll just talk to it. I mean, that's what you did. Just by talking and chatting with it, it built the code for you. I mean, just imagine doing that for something that could just engage in your life and while you're walking down the street, help you identify, I don't know, grass. I don't care. I mean, just all the things that you could have these little clients do in your life. I mean, that's amazing. And you just had to talk to it.
Well, I think the fear, Jeff, is we're not going to know what grass is anymore. But
well, no, your AI client will tell you it's grass.
Any other questions for any of our presenters? I know we're done here about 10 minutes early, but this was really good stuff. Jeff, you knocked it out of the park when you lit off with you know, how you're using it as a superintendent, and then James, you got kind of more at the instructor level and the teaching, and then Mary, you finished up with, you know, a student perspective. This was a real home run here tonight. Andrea's got a question for you, Jeff. You prefer ChatGPT over Copilot? Can you share why?
That's just honestly, there's no reason for that. We've had my tech team have come in and we've looked at it, particularly because Copilot is free. I mean, you could get aspects of it because of Microsoft clients. So we've actually looked at Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, all those. And honestly, they all have kind of a niche. They're kind of good at certain things and not others. For me, it's just what I started in. So I'm just lazy because I'm just there. I'm working it. I have it running all the time. I don't know if there's any one reason why it's better. I think they make incremental hurdles over each other, but they're still all playing the same game. They're just kind of leapfrogging each other as far as the technology. So yeah, I don't think it matters. But again, it's just what I started building in, and that's what I just work in. It's just, yeah.
And I'd
Well,
argue that that's a moving target too, right, Jeff? I mean, when I started using DeepSeek when I did, because it seemed like it was significantly better than ChatGPT or Copilot, but now I left DeepSeek and it's nothing compared to the new ChatGPT or Copilot. So it's just, you just got to keep trying, I think.
one final question here before we go. Any final thoughts on the role of AI in learning a second language? Anybody?
I know my wife has done Duolingo for like 4 years straight every day. So I mean, that's AI power too to teach a foreign language. I think that's hugely powerful. But I just think, I mean, we all have languages, but how soon is it till it's automatically translating on the fly on my glasses so I can just hear your language in my native language? I mean, it's just going to do it for us. I mean, that I think just breaks down all the language barriers when you do that. I mean,
I did have, so I had a conversation with our Spanish instructor at UJ, and he's been trying to utilize those tools. He has concerns because when language is translated, he says it never seems to carry the tone like he wants it to. So at this point, it seems like tone just isn't following through very well. But I would assume that will get better. Of course, somewhat. I mean, those foreign language instructors also would say that you can't express the same thoughts in one language as the other. So perhaps not. I don't know.
All right. Well, so just a final pitch here before we close. Next week is our third of the three-part series, and we're going to focus on AI in the workforce. And we'll have a couple of people on the call that are using AI in their daily jobs. I'll have some data points in terms of what AI is doing in the marketplace for job seekers and job fillers. And so next week we'll focus on the workforce. So I appreciate everyone for joining us tonight, especially a big thank you to Jeff Fastnacht, James Bear, and Mary Baumgartner for their presentations tonight. It was very nice. Very good job. Thank you. And we'll all see you next week, I hope.